Welcome to the Ruckus Theater, where we have some Commander for you guys. Up first, we have Mark running Classic Cradle Storm. In Seat 2, we have Josh playing Rog Ishai, which is just Ristic Slop dot deck. In Seat 3, we have myself playing Rakdos the Muscle. And in Seat 4, we have James playing Classic Blue Farm. Alright, Mark's gonna start us off by shocking in a Breeding Pool and playing Mystic Remora, shipping it over to Josh, who's gonna play an Exotic Orchard, and his Commander Rograk. Send the turn to me. I'm gonna play an Arid Mesa, and then an Imperial Seal. Not paying for Mark's fish here, so he goes ahead and draws, but I do get to tutor. So I'm going to go get a Badlands on the way and put a card on top. Send it over to James, who just plays a starting town and passes. In his upkeep, Mark's going to pay for the fish here so he can keep him around for another turn. Then he's going to play a Flooded Strand for turn, crack that, go find Tropical Island. Then he's going to cast his Commander Rograk and ship it over to Josh. Josh is going to play a Gemstone Mine for turn, and then try and play a Lotus Petal, which is going to feed right into Mark's fish. He's not going to pay, so Mark can draw. And Josh is going to ship it over to me. On my turn here, I'm going to play an Ancient Tomb, which is what I tutored for. Tap both of those, and play a Priest of Urbrask, which is going to make me 3 red mana, filter it straight into the Shasnod's altar here. I don't have the extra one, so I'm not going to pay for Mark's fish, and he can go ahead and draw a card. Now I'm going to send a turn over to Blue Farm, who's going to play Volcanic Island. Tap a starting town and the Volk to play a Taro. That's going to be targeting me. So I'm going to get to draw a card here, and James is going to get to make a tap treasure and draw a card himself. Sounds like a win-win. Alright, on Mark's turn here, he's not going to pay for his fish in his upkeep. He's going to send that away, but draw for turn. He'll play an Exotic Orchard of his own, and try and tap out and cast a Ristic Study here. There was an Audible Groan from the table. But thankfully, Josh has a Flusterstorm ready, and with a storm count at 2, Mark can't pay for it. So that Ristic Study is going to get countered. There's a Sigh of Relief from the table, and then it moves on to Josh's turn here. Josh is going to untap. He'll play a Plains for turn. And then he'll tap out himself for a Boromir Warden of the Tower, so no one can cast free spells except him. On my turn, I'm going to play a Command Tower. Tap that to cast a Skirk Prospector. And then I'm going to use my remaining lands here to try and cast a Demonic Tutor. Thankfully, I don't have to fight through a fish this time, so I'm just going to tutor and pass over to James. James is going to untap, draw for turn, and play Cavern of Souls naming Human. He's going to tap that and one of his other lands to try and cast a Voice of Victory. Thankfully, because of the Cavern of Souls, no one can stop it. Easy send the turn over to Mark after that. Mark untaps. Kick off the turn, Mark's going to untap and draw for turn. Then he's going to try and pay 2 mana to cast a Cryptolith, which lets him tap his creatures for mana. Naturally he will, tapping his Rograk and his Tropical Island to cast his other commander Thrasios. And he ships the turn over to Josh. Josh will untap, draw his card, and play a Mox Opal, flexing that he can cast free spells when no one else can. He pushes that even farther, casting an Ornithopter, just to try and enable his Mox Opal. Now that it can, he'll tap it for mana, along with his planes to try and cast a Grand Abolisher. No one has anything about it, so they ship it to me. On my turn here, I'm going to play a Mount Doom. And then I'm going to tap everything except the Mount Doom, sacrificing my Skirk Prospector for a red mana, and cast Rakdos. With Rakdos in play now, I can sacrifice my Priest of Urbrask to my Ashnod's altar to make 2 colorless mana. That'll also trigger Rakdos and let me see 3 cards, which are Viscera Seer, Sticker Goblin, and Deadpool Trading Card. However, those are going to stay in exile till the end of my turn, so I'm going to try and cast something from my hand here. I'm going to try and cast a Golgari Thug. Since it resolves, I'm going to sacrifice it to the Ashnod's Altar to make 2 more colorless mana. Then a couple of triggers are going to happen. I'm going to stack it so that the Golgari Thug resolves first and puts himself on top of my library. Then Rakdos will exile it and another card, that card being a Deflecting Swap. Using 2 of the colorless, I'm going to recast the Golgari Thug, to which James in Blue Farm tries the Swords by Rakdos the Muscle with Golgari Thug on the stack. I have to pay to cast a Song of the Damned to pay retail for the Deflecting Swap because of the Boromir in play. I'm going to try and swat the swords to target Thrasios. Josh will sacrifice his Boromir here, and this will let Mark cast a Force of Will for its alternate casting cost, paying a life and exiling a Trading Grounds. I have nothing else to deal with this Force of Will, so that's going to resolve, counter my Deflecting Swat. Then the Swords is going to go through, and still going to exile Rakdos. I will gain 6 life off of it, however, which I guess is nice. Golgari Thug's still in the stack. No one has a response for it, so it resolves. From here, I'm going to sacrifice the Golgari Thug to make 2 more colorless mana. Because Rakdos doesn't care about the mana spent, we're going to use a colorless to cast Viserys here. I'm going to sacrifice him to make 3 colorless to try and cast a Sticker Goblin. Now, he's just a little guacamole goblin, so he only makes 4 mana here. But that is enough to cast Deadpool Trading Card from exile. With Deadpool coming into play, he's going to choose to trade text boxes with a Grand Abolisher. Ship it over to Blue Farm, they play a Polluted Delta, and tap out for a Valley Floodcaller. Starting off turn 5 here, Mark's going to untap, draw a card as this is right here, and he's going to play a Gemstone Caverns, only a few turns too late to matter. He's going to tap all of his lands here, and Rograk, to cast a Seedborn Muse, giving him untaps on everyone's untap step, which is terrifying with a Thrasios in play. We'll see why. James is going to take this opportunity to go fetch his Polluted Delta, eventually going and finding an Underground Sea. Mark's going to send it over to Josh, and then they're going to untap together. Josh is going to take 3 in his upkeep because of his new Deadpool trigger. And he's going to tap 3 here. In an attempt to cast a Sabine's Reclamation, targeting his Boromir, bringing that back so that people can't cast free spells anymore. Again, that's all he can do, so he's going to send it over to me. Just kidding. Thrasios has things to do in his end step because of Seedborn Muse. So he's going to tap all of his lands here and spin Thrasios. Putting the card on the bottom and revealing a Crop Rotation, because God knows he needs that. He's going to tap Rograk here to make the green to cast the Crop Rotation, sacrificing that Gemstone Caverns that was too late to the party anyway. Off that, he gets a Gaia's Cradle, which is astronomically worse for us with that Seedborn Muse. So now he's going to catapult all his creatures and make a bunch of mana and try and activate Thrasios again. He's shy by 1, so he has to tap Thrasios as well to activate his Thrasios here. He's going to reveal a Boro Breeze Caller, which is the win condition for the deck. That combos nicely with Gaia's Cradle. Thanks, Thrasios. Now that he's done with his Thrasios activations, he's going to untap in my untap step. But because I have the Grand Abolisher, he can't actually activate Thrasios here, so I'm safe for a little bit. However, all I can really do is just sacrifice the Sticker Goblin and tap out my lands to cast Rakdos again. Try and set up for maybe something next turn. That's all I got. Over to James. James is going to tap 3 of his lands here. Try and cast a Spellseeker. Try and look for some sort of interaction. It is uncounterable because of the Cavernous Souls. He's going to end up finding a Swan Song here. Hoping, I guess, to try and stop a land tutor. Because Thrasios is only one land away from winning the game with Talongates and Madara. In James's end step, Mark is going to spin the Thrasios a couple more times. First activation is going to find a command tower after bottoming the 1 card. And he's got enough mana to spin it again if he taps his Thrasios. Off that activation, he's going to find a Polluted Delta. And that's all he can do in James' end step. Starting off his turn here, Mark actually has to untap by himself, like the rest of us peasants. He's going to move to crack his Polluted Delta here. He's going to find a Volcanic Island. And then he's going to do a bunch of Cradle Math. Tap 2 for a Defense Grid. Try and set up his wall. Blue Farm realizing that the Swan Song he got doesn't hit artifacts, so there's nothing we can do here. Mark is off to the races. Once again doing Cradle Math, because all he does is Cradle Math. He's going to make enough mana here to cast an Invasion of Ikoria, where X equals 3. He actually technically overpays here, because he thought he was grabbing something else, but he ends up getting a Formidable Speaker for 3, not 4. With that Formidable Speaker, he's actually in a shortcut here, and he's going to fund the Sowing Mycospawn at the same time. Once he's done shuffling, he's going to discard this 1 ring to the Formidable Speaker's trigger. Then he's going to tap his land here and use Seedborn Muse mana to cast a Bora Breeze Caller. Tap 2 more of his creatures, Thrasios and Rograk, to return a command tower to his hand to untap that Gaia's Cradle. Tap that Gaia's Cradle, make a bunch more mana. Time for more Cradle Math. He's going to use that to cast a Sowing Mycospawn. With that, he's going to try and tutor, but I stop him. Because I'm the hero the table needs. I'm going to sacrifice my Deadpool trading card that was our Grand Abolisher here, and try and exile 4 cards from Mark's library with Rakdos' trigger, trying to get the target for the tutor, which is Talongates and Madara. Now, naturally, I whiff. I whiff entirely. He hits completely irrelevant cards here, and he gets to go tutor. So he's going to find his Talongates and Madara, put it directly into play. He's going to feed that into his Bora Breeze Caller, return it to his hand, and that'll let him untap his Gaia's Cradle, which he has enough creatures here that he now produces an infinite to return the Talongates to his hand, pay 4 and put it back into play, netting mana every time, which he can filter through the Talongates to make colored mana. He's going to draw his whole library here with Thrasios. Rogthras did what Rogthras does. They cradle you to the grave. If you guys want to see more gameplay videos like this, make sure you guys tune in. Try and do weekly uploads. Thank you guys for joining us, and see you guys in the next video.